Welcome to Cahyvion Case Files. I'm your host, Britt Lavasso. This week, we're taking a deep dive into cold cases. The first is a 40-year-old cold case in St. Martinville. The next, a decade-old case recently being solved in Houma. The next three cases come from Franklin. All three are homicides still unsolved after years, and Franklin police need your help to close them. A tip from the public could bring these cases back to life. These are the stories of Judy Gary, Pamela Johnson, Rock Jones, Cahyvion Alexander, and Durall Alexander.
KLFY uncovers and digs deeper into the untold stories of missing persons, strange disappearances, cold cases, and mysteries from the heart of Acadiana. This is Cahyvion Case Files, a KLFY Plus exclusive.
The first case is a missing persons cold case. A 19-year-old from St. Martinville who went missing nearly 40 years ago. This is the story of Judy Gary.
It's August 2nd, 1986. Judy Gary is 19 years old living in St. Martinville. And even though Judy is young, she's a loving wife and mother. Judy lives with her husband, Eric Richard, and their 1-year-old little boy, Ricky. By all accounts, they're happy. But this day in August, Judy is staying with her mom because her mom is sick. Her mom also lives in St. Martinville on West Hamilton Street, but Judy's mom also is not in the best health. So that Saturday afternoon, Judy decides to head to the local drugstore pharmacy on North Main Street to pick up a prescription for her mom. And that's when things get strange. Judy never makes it back to her mom's home, and she doesn't go back to her home either with her husband and toddler. So law enforcement questions the people at the last place anyone saw her, that local pharmacy right in the middle of town. And employees remember seeing 19-year-old Judy that afternoon. They say Judy got the medication and walks out the front door. Then they say Judy gets into a green 4-door car. None of Judy's family or friends, however, know anyone with a vehicle that matches that description. And this is 1986. They can't just call or text Judy or track her location. So Judy's family just waits, hoping she'll be home soon. But Judy never does come home. A year passes, then 2, then 3. Year after year, her husband and mother wait and hope that Judy will just come home one day. But year after year, she doesn't. And her little boy Ricky starts growing up. No one has answers for him.
And when he was in high school, kids picked on him and told him that your mother left you because she didn't love you anymore. And she left you to start a new family. And another rumor was he heard that he had a little sister out there.
It's been 39 years now since Judy went missing. Judy's son, Ricky, is in his 40s.
Her son, who was only 18 months old when she went missing in 86, became a grown-up and started asking questions. I want to know more about my mother.
Nearly 4 decades after his mother's disappearance, Judy's son, Ricky, met Renee Dunn, a genetic genealogist. Renee has done everything she can to help Ricky find his mom all these years later.
Nothing has been going on until Miss Renee stepped in, and she got into it real good, and she's doing process. I just want answers, and if you know where she's at, please let me know. That's all I want.
Judy's husband, Eric, also never giving up hope on finding his wife. He's been looking for her for 39 years.
Stressful because I like to know what's going on, why she never came home, who has her, why they don't want to let her call. Please come home. Your son needs you now.
Renee has been investigating herself and has used her knowledge in the field of genetic genealogy to find any records that could lead to Judy, who'd be nearly 60 years old now.
It's just been talking to people, asking a lot of questions, people that maybe knew Judy firsthand or knew the family and just weren't willing to talk so many years ago are now forthcoming and, willing to share and tell stories about her and her life. And that's how we've gotten most of the information on the case.
The Lafayette-based genetic genealogist did not know Judy or her family personally, but was touched by their story.
So for their sake, I would love to bring her home to them and to her son so he can get to know her. and that's really what she deserves.
Using his DNA and sites like Ancestry and 23andMe, she's found family members' addresses and census records.
It seems like the community is kind of pulled together and wanted to bring her home. Like they feel like everyone has the same idea and the same shock to it, that she's been missing for so long and nobody should go without knowing where their mother is for so long.
But so far, no leads have led to Judy. St. Martinville Police Chief Ricky Martin says his office has reopened this case, but even with Renee's new information, this is a difficult one.
The hardest part has been, it's been so long, so we're able to go back, or having to go back and find people. And other than that, we don't have any physical evidence to use to lead us in any direction. Everything's just word of mouth right now.
Chief Martin says Judy's missing persons case is still active. The chief says so far they found no evidence she was killed or kidnapped. As the 40th anniversary of Judy's disappearance approaches, her family still hopes she could be alive.
If you have any information on Judy Gary, contact St. Martinville Police. After the break, a decade-old homicide near Houma finally solved after 10 years. For this next case, we're taking you to Terrebonne Parish. It's a decade-old cold case that only recently has been solved. After 10 years, one woman's family may finally have the answers they've been looking for. This is the story of Pamela Johnson from Bourg.
It's Tuesday, December 1st, 2015. Two little girls, just 7 and 10 years old, are at their home in a tiny little town right outside of Houma called Bourg. The two girls are at home on County Drive with their aunt, 56-year-old Pamela Johnson. At the time, Pamela's husband, Charles Johnson, was helping her care for her nieces, but Charles was not home that night. Pamela and her two nieces were having a quiet night at home when a man none of them recognized rushed into their home. His target seemed to be Pamela. The suspect shot Pamela in front of her two nieces, then kidnapped the girls. Sometime that night, Houma police officers found the two girls in a vehicle on Wade Street in Houma. The vehicle was registered to their aunt, Pamela. That's when officers rushed over to Pamela's home and found her body inside. She died of a single gunshot wound. Then the hunt for the suspect was on. The biggest question was why. This did not appear to be a robbery, and the suspect left the girls unharmed in Pamela's own vehicle. For 10 years, the case went unsolved. Until September of 2025. That's when the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office makes an arrest. Not one, but two. And the public finally has some insight as to what investigators have been trying to prove for a decade.
For a decade, this case weighed heavily on the hearts and victims, families, our community, and the men and women at Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office who refused to give up on search for justice.
This is a very sad day for Terrebonne Parish, but a good day insofar as justice.
Two men were arrested in connection with Pamela Johnson's murder. One arrest coming as a shock to the entire Houma community. Pamela's husband, Charles Johnson, now 70 years old, was put into handcuffs. His charge was first-degree murder. But Charles is also facing another charge, solicitation for murder. Investigators believe Charles was not the one who pulled the trigger that night. Pamela's nieces, even being 7 and 10 years old, would have recognized him as the one who killed their aunt and kidnapped them. The little girls were confident they did not know the suspect. The same day Charles was arrested for the murder of his wife, there was another arrest. This is the man investigators believe Charles hired to kill his wife. He is Shannon Robinson of Houma, now 43 years old. Shannon is charged with first-degree murder, solicitation for murder, and aggravated kidnapping. Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Tim Saunier told the public in a press conference they believe Pamela's husband, Charles, orchestrated a scheme hiring Shannon to kill his wife. Why? The sheriff says it all came down to money. According to investigators, Pamela and Charles were in the process of getting a divorce. Pamela and Charles were having disputes over community property. Law enforcement believes Pamela was targeted for simply financial gain. The trauma Pamela's murder left on her young nieces was merely collateral damage. It's unclear what new piece of evidence led investigators to make the arrests, but they're confident they've solved the murder of Pamela Johnson. Her nieces, who would now be about 17 and 20 years old, may finally rest a little easier knowing why they faced the most challenging and scariest day of their lives back on December 1st of 2015.
The good part is that we have made what we believe is a good arrest, very credible evidence, and very factual evidence that we will prosecute this case to its fullest and bring these guys to justice.
Both men are being held in the Terrebonne Parish Jail without bond. Prosecutors could be seeking the death penalty. Meanwhile, authorities say the case remains active and an ongoing investigation with the possibility of additional arrests.
Pamela Johnson's case shows investigators do not stop working their cold cases. Even years after the crime, justice can still happen, even a decade later. Coming up, a 61-year-old woman is killed in her own home in Franklin. It's been 4 years and police need your help with the case. The next case I want to tell you about is the murder of a 65-year-old woman named Rock Jones. She was from Franklin, Louisiana.
It was the night of Saturday, June 26, 2021. 65-year-old Rock Jones was at her home in Franklin on Martin Luther King Jr. Street. She was a devout Christian and a renowned cook, says her godchild, LaShawn Proctor.
Rock's house was one of the places that all of the kids in the neighborhood, all of the kids was there. She loved that community enough. She loved that area enough to where she stayed there. That's why it's so senseless and it seemed to be to me, because everyone knew her.
It was around midnight. Rock was asleep in her recliner at home. That's when Franklin police say it happened. Bullets rang out through the air, spraying her entire home. It only took one of those bullets to end Rock's life. 4 days later, no one had been charged or arrested for her murder. Franklin Mayor Eugene Folkard, who lost 2 of his nephews as robbery victims, spoke to News 10's Neil Zarang.
It's easy to point fingers and say, hey, the mayor's not doing enough. The chief is not doing enough. But what are you doing? Make that call. It can save a life. It can save your life. It can save your neighbor's life.
It became clear if Franklin police were going to solve Rock's murder, they needed tips from people who knew why this happened. Rock's neighbor, James Otis, urged someone to step up.
I can't see anyone being afraid to do the right thing. I don't want to live that way, and I can't see someone with a mindset, I won't do right because I'm afraid. Well, with that frame of mind, what would happen if it was their children?
Rock's godchild, hoping anyone would come forward to help solve his godmother's murder.
Once we expose those persons, then we can start to control our gun violence in our areas. But as long as the community is silent, as long as the community is not saying who it is, then they're going to continue to know that they have that sense of protection. We have to stop it now. And if we can stop it now, then it won't get to the next person's home.
It's been more than 4 years now. Rock's home no longer sits in the lot where she was killed. No one is in jail for her murder. And Rock's case has gone ice cold. We sat down with Franklin Police Corporal Dejanique Rise as they reopen this investigation.
Tell me what you can about the investigation into her murder. It's been almost 4 years and we haven't seen an arrest.
Yes, we are working on trying to get more evidence, trying to get the public to come forward so we can reassign the case and get more evidence.
What's it going to take? A tip from the public? What will it take, to see justice through to this case?
Tips from the public would be great. It would be greatly helped and greatly appreciated. That way we can help bring some justice to the victim and her family.
And we've all kind of heard the saying, someone has to know something. Do you believe that with this case?
Yes, ma'am, I do believe that. Just people might be scared of retaliation, so, some might not say anything. But this may help bring forward someone who actually knows something and just didn't know how to come forward.
Can time help cases like this?
Yes, ma'am, I do believe time can help cases like this.
Why?
When it first happens, in some cases, I think people are scared and they just don't want to do it at that time. They don't want to be known as the person who told. But over time, I think, it sets in that that person's gone, and maybe some information that they have may help solve their case.
If someone has a piece of information they want to share with police, but they want to stay anonymous, is that an option?
Yes, ma'am. Tips can be submitted confidentially at 337-828-6333.
What would it mean to Rock Jones's family and also the community to see an justice for her murder, to see someone put in jail for her murder?
It would give them closure. So I think that would mean a lot to them.
Is there anything else about this case that you want to let the public know? Anything you want to say to people?
If anyone from the public has any information in reference to Miss Rock Jones' case, feel free to come forward. Tips can be taken confidentially at 337-828-6333.
If you know anything you think could help solve the murder of 65-year-old Rock Jones, you can call the number on your screen. That's 337-940-4771. Up next, we talk about two more cold cases Franklin police need help solving. The next case, or cases, are the murders of 19-year-old Cahyvion Alexander and 43-year-old Durall Alexander. Both were killed in Franklin in 2022, just a few hours apart.
It's January 11th, 2022, a Tuesday night. Everything is calm in the town of Franklin until 10:02 p.m. That's when Franklin police get a phone call. The caller says they heard several gunshots fired in the area of Iberia and K Streets.
Police were called to this area around 10 p.m. that night after reports of shots fired. And when they arrived, they found the 19-year-old suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. His car overturned in this church parking lot.
When officers arrived to the scene, they first found the overturned vehicle. When they looked closer, they discovered the young man in the driver's seat. He'd been shot in the head but was clinging to life. While doctors tried to save his life, they couldn't. That young man was 19-year-old Cahyvion Alexander. He just graduated from West St. Mary High the year before.
In January of 2022, a 19-year-old was shot in the head and killed, his car overturning in a church parking lot about 2 blocks down from me. And then, just a couple of hours later, a 43-year-old man was shot and killed in a home on this street.
Just 4 hours after Cahyvion was killed at 1:49 a.m., Franklin police get several more phone calls. More gunshots, these coming from James Street, just 2 blocks away from where Cahyvion Alexander was shot. Again, officers rush over to a home this time. Inside, they find a man dead from gunshot wounds. That man was 43-year-old Durall Alexander. Franklin police also found that this home had been fired at with several rounds. 4 hours, 2 murders, both in the same neighborhood, a 19-year-old and a 43-year-old. Franklin police say it's unclear if Cahyvion and Durall are related, though they share the last name. Investigators also struggled to find out if their shootings were related. A year went by. The investigations pressed on, but there were no arrests. Then, in September of 2023, investigators thought they made a break in the case. A 43-year-old man named Ashley Miller from Franklin was arrested for murder. And Ashley lived about 10 blocks away from these murders. But Ashley was only charged in connection with 19-year-old Cahyvion's murder. Those charges are second-degree murder and possession of a firearm or carrying concealed weapon by a person convicted of certain felonies. But whatever relieved Cahyvion's family was short-lived because Ashley's charges are dropped and investigators are left again to find their killer or killers. It's been 3.5 years since Cahyvion and Durall were murdered. Their families are still waiting for justice. Here's Franklin Police Corporal Dejanique Rise again.
So tell me what happened to Cahyvion.
In January 2022, Cahyvion was driving his vehicle on Casey Street near Iberia when his vehicle was shot multiple times. Cahyvion was shot. He later wrecked into a local church, and he died as a result of his injuries.
And what can you tell me about that investigation?
It's still ongoing. We're working on reopening and reassigning with new technologies that we have and new information that we can possibly get from the public.
And then, as I understand it, just a couple of hours later, maybe 4 hours later, there's the death of Durall Alexander. Tell me what happened in that case.
Approximately 3 hours later, Durall Alexander was laying on his sofa at his residence on James Street when his vehicle was struck by his residence was struck by gunfire multiple times. He was shot and he later died from his injuries as well.
So when it comes to these two shootings, such close proximity, such close timing, have you been able to confidently say if these two shootings are related?
At this time, I'm unable to say if they're related, so I'm unsure about that. So that's why we're requesting for the public's help so we can possibly link together information and solve the crimes.
So in all three of these cases, it may take someone coming forward to solve these murders.
Yes, ma'am.
Make one more plea, to people. Why is it so important if someone has this information they've been holding on to tell someone?
It's so important to come forward because it's going to bring justice to the victim and bring closure to their families. It is very, very important that we can come together as a community and put an end to it and solve the crime.
How frustrating is it for you as a corporal? I'm sure you put everything you have into these cases and you almost have it pieced together, but there's that crucial piece of evidence from the public. Someone has that information. How frustrating is that?
It's not frustrating at all. I wouldn't say it's frustrating. It does kind of push back the case, yes, but it's not frustrating because you still have to have hope that one day someone's going to come forward, or one day that missing piece of evidence is just going to happen. So.
And what would it mean to you to be able to finally close these cases?
It would mean a lot to me to be able to bring justice. It would mean a lot.
Anything else you want to say about any of these murders?
It's very sad that the events that occurred. We're working hard on trying to get some justice and bring the victim closure with their families. So just any information that anyone has is very crucial at this time, and even in the near future with new technology that investigators have now. So maybe that can help put these cases in the past.
Yeah. I'm happy you guys are willing to speak with us about this today, because I think it's always important. As the years go on, people might forget a little bit, but a reminder.
That reminder is very important. Someone might see this and remember, hey, I seen that day, and they couldn't say it that day. So just seeing this today might be life-changing for either of the victims.
You may be holding the missing piece of information that Franklin police need to crack any of these cases wide open. Call or text that tip line. That's 337-940-4771. Help these families get closure. Help these people get justice. Thanks for joining us.